you guys ever go back and watch some of these recordings, they start about 9:10, 10 minutes into this gig. So, okay, so we should be recording now. Perfect. So we're gonna have Demian Trofimovich come on and help us get through parts of this. He's kind of mastered some of the tools that we've talked about or that we're going to be talking about. So we're going to have him take us through a good portion of those tools and how he uses those. So I wanted to just take the first couple minutes to recap and talk about just did anybody really take the time to go through the big why exercise and dig those five or so levels deep and want to share maybe what they came up with? Anyone? Okay.
Sorry.
Nope, it's all good. I'm just going to encourage you guys as we go through the next couple weeks to really do some of this stuff. And I know it's a lot easier if we do it here in person. And, once we kind of click off the mastermind, we get busy and we don't go back and do it. But, if you guys can commit to just taking a little bit of time to do some of this stuff by the end of the month, you're going to have this action plan built. Otherwise, you're going to be starting over, right? And it'll already be November 1st and you'll be starting to redo this. So um, I would encourage if you haven't,
Kelly,
yeah.
I'm gonna put someone on the spot here. So kind of again, when we talked about our big why last week and really going deeper, because if you don't feel moved by it, right, was the saying, then you're not gonna move. Charlie Lawson, I'm gonna put you on the spot because we had done some coaching sessions and you went through that exercise. Would you even just mind sharing kind of your why and how you actualize how to move that into creating a roadmap for your business?
You want to give me a little clue and hint on where I'm going with this?
No, just kind of your big why. How the big why made a difference for you? Because you kind of gone a little deeper on that in the past.
My big why is my son. Um, my son has gone through, God, Ange, why do you do this to me? Um, my
Sorry,
son
but
has kind of now my son has kind of gone through his battles and turbulence, and it's just kind of got me. If you can't tell already, kind of choked up. But he lost his mom at a very young age, at 10 years old, to suicide. She took her life. So we've kind of been dealing with that. So it's really helped me kind of prioritize, I'll just say the things that are important to me and kind of let the or try to let the ish and the the other stuff that doesn't matter to me out of my life and try to clear the path to where I want to go. Now that doesn't always work, and I need reminders and coaching from Ange, probably a lot more than what I get from her. But it's just it really helps you guide when you have that as your guiding light or your North Star to get there. And there's going to be a lot of stuff, the junk, like from the hurricane down there, the stuff that's floating, the debris that's coming in your way. You just got to kind of always just clear it out and just make sure you're going at what's important and why you're going there. So mine is my son, my family. Yeah, and there's a lot of reasons why of that. So
Well, it definitely provides clarity, like you said. Once you
yeah,
kind of know your big why, all the rest of the stuff doesn't matter, right? Because you're focused and you're clear on what's driving you to do what you need to do.
100%. And I'm telling you, it's not easy because there's a lot of stuff that gets in your way a lot of the time. Every day there's something. Every morning you wake up, there's something that's trying to get in your way. It's just you got to put that at the forefront. And I'm not the best at it. I'm not perfect, but I try to keep that in mind when I try to move the needle. And every time I put that as the North Star of the guiding light, it makes moving the needle that much easier.
For sure. Sometimes, you guys, when you go through the exercise and you really dig down to what it is is that final thing that is going to be the focus or the clarity. Um, we used to do vision boards, and I would tell you to keep it in your forefront so that you can see it and you're reminded of it every day. Maybe whether, for Charlie, it's his son. He probably has a picture of his son pretty darn close by. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yep, there you go. Exactly, exactly. So when you can create a visual for that and you keep it near you where you're doing your work, I mean, that is absolutely going to help. If you need a reminder, if you're getting the distractions every day, just look at that picture or look at that vision board and remind yourself why you're doing this. There's Jen's why. She's probably gets to look at her every day. So,
Oh, both of
yeah.
them.
So yeah,
So,
so I would just say I thanks Charlie for sharing. I appreciate that. It is hard. I felt your choke up because Ange did that to me last week and I went through the same thing. So, again, like she said, if you're not getting moved emotionally, then it's not the right thing, right? You gotta dig deeper. So appreciate that, Charlie. So if you guys haven't done that exercise, please take some time to do it. Doesn't take that long, but dig a little deeper here so that you know what you're working for. Yes, Lisa.
Do you guys have a suggestion? And maybe Angela, you're the best one to ask when you get stuck at kind of that third level and are having a hard time getting past that level.
I think I don't have a good answer for that other than you doing some soul searching. Maybe it's past pain points that you've had, or
Mhm.
maybe it's something, from a pleasurable standpoint that you want in life and that you've never had. So when you dig deeper in there, it's kind of what stirs up the emotions. And some of us, we're either going to run from pain or toward pleasure, right? Isn't that the saying? So I would just say dig a little deeper on maybe some past pain points when you haven't reached certain milestones that you've wanted in your life, and really start to uncover and ask questions like what got in the way there. And that's where moving into the tool of the 135, that's where, you can really start to map out. And when I would coach with people, I would come back to, well, wait a minute, you told me this was important to you, right? And we mapped out your business plan for the year, and here are the things that you committed to, and that's the tools that Kelly and Damien are going to go over today. Then that should keep you more on track toward hitting that milestone. So think of pain points is the
Okay.
only suggestion that I could give.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah,
You're
and really
welcome.
just saying, why is this important? And if it didn't happen, like Angela said, what's going to be the bad, right? What's going to get affected if this doesn't happen, right? So make it hurt a little bit or bring it to that level. So
Not to bring up again too, but last week, if you were on, we talked about point far, right?
Yep.
So a lot of times people are getting stuck. Your programming leads to your thinking, which leads to your fears, which leads to action, which leads to results.
Right.
So for a lot of us, we're getting stuck in our thinking.
mhm.
Thank
Agreed.
you.
Agreed. Okay, so take your time, do your big why. The next thing I wanted to ask quickly on is there was a list of important questions. I did post those on the Empire page if you needed a reminder. But did you guys take the time, if not to look at those questions, just think about your year and review it and think about like what went well, what didn't go well, what are the changes that I'd like to make for 2025 to improve things? Anybody have any things that they want to share that maybe an aha moment that you got when you went through the review questions?
I
Anybody
can
have?
admit,
Okay.
I'm happy to admit, I'm struggling with some business stuff. And when I think back to when I had the greatest success, again, it was having the plan and the 135. And I know I always said like business plan is getting overrated. It's about taking action, right? And removing fear. So it's as simple as I just didn't write out my plan last year
Mhm. Yeah, and did you,
like I
so
did previous years.
so how did that affect you?
Oh, I think it's just that trickle down effect of not having the guidance, the roadmap, not having the daily in my face. Okay, you wanted this, so you said you were going to do this. Did you do these activities? Not having strategies of here's what I'm going to do, to look back on to say, check, did I do those strategies or not? So I think my biggest downfall from this year and what I need to change is actually what we're doing here right now, is getting back to having a plan written out with strategies, and moving into, committing to the actions needed for it.
Yeah. We always have a saying or a kind of a joke about, if you and I and we're going to go to Austin, Texas and take a drive, and I had the map up on GPS, and you didn't, um, we both may get there, I'm going to get there a lot quicker, a lot more efficiently than you. So having that map, no
Right.
matter what you're trying to do, having a roadmap or a plan will allow you to get there more efficiently, faster, better, right? So what we're going to talk about today, from a tool standpoint, is we're going to really dig into the 135, which is like the main tool that I would tell you that any goal, as you guys are looking at 2025 and you're making your list of like, here are the things I'd like to change or implement. Here are the things that I need to do differently, right? When you have your goals, whether it's the main goal or smaller goals, you can use this 135 tool to really build the map on how to implement and reach that goal. Okay. So I know Damien should be coming in here any minute, but I'm going to share my screen here just to get you guys familiar if you haven't. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So I am going to go to the next page here. Oops. There we go. All right. So when we talk about the 135, basically what this is it is starting with the one being the goal, your main goal. Okay. And so we can use something simple like, here's my main, GCI goal for the year, or here's the number of transactions that I want to do for the year. But what we want is for that main goal on the 135 to be very specific, right? I'm going to go from here to here, within a certain amount of time, right? You want to be specific in when you're going to accomplish that.
Just so you know, today too,
Oh,
Here and you. There we go.
was that Damien?
No, it was Aaron.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So, you want to be from here to there by when? So I just have on this sheet here, just an example. If you want to close 18 transactions by December 31st, sorry, I needed to update this to 24 and 20 or to 2025. This is an old one. So by December 31st of 2025, and I have an average sale price of X amount. Okay. That's the specific goal. That's the one of the 135. Now, the three are identifying priority areas which will, provide focus and growth, right? They're going to help you set your priority to help you accomplish that main goal. So, maybe actually what I should do is I wonder if I have the update. I did update it. I just didn't update it in here. So hang on one second, you guys. Let me see if I have it.
And Damien is on, Kelly.
Okay. Hang on one second. I am going to stop this share for just a second. I want to make sure I've got thought I updated this. So hang on. Sorry, guys. My lack of preparation here is not good. Nope, same one. Hang on. Trying to find the right one. I apologize. In the meantime, let me get here. Here we go. Nope, still the same one. Sorry, we're just going to use this. I apologize. I clearly have
You're fine.
dropped the boat here. Let me just go back to my Zoom and share screen
I think we
again.
still love you, Kelly.
Thank you. Yeah. See, this is where The techie girl does not shine real strong here. Okay, I did all this updating. I wonder why if I just didn't save it last night. But anyway, so Damien, are you on, honey?
Yes.
Okay. Since you are like this is kind of your gig, your jam, I'm gonna turn this over to you to explain how you use the 135. And then I'll let you go into your calendar, which I do have on this next sheet. So hopefully I have that correct from the way you did it before. So I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kelly. And you know, it's not my thing. I think it's Angela's thing. You know, she's the one who kind of put it in front of me, but it definitely was a game changer for me taking my business from where, like, you know, let's say 3 years ago to where it is now by just getting extremely organized with goals. And but beyond goals is the activities that's gonna get you to those goals. You know, because it's again like that, if it's not in your calendar, you're not going to be doing those activities. And that was like really getting organized specifically to what I was doing each hour. And of course, it wasn't perfect, but every day I was looking at my calendar. I'm like, okay, I need to be doing this. I need to do this, this, and this. You know, and looking back, like one of the, you know, I when we sat down that initial time, the first time I was finally went as an agent on my own. I was on the team for 2, 3 years, and then you know, I was like, that was my first year with EXP, and we kind of sat down. Okay, what does that look like? And there's no way I thought I would have hit those goals, but the consistency, the work that I did throughout the year, just being like consistent with what I put in those, you know, the 135 and the underneath the activities is kind of like at the end of the year, I was like, no way, you know, I think it's four times my business that first year, to where it was prior, and from there it just kept going up and up. So, you know, I think the important piece here is, well, one, yeah, set a realistic goals, you know, so if you're, you know, you kind of like Kelly mentioned, like, what do you want the next December 31st to look like as far as volume, price range, you know, how many transactions do you want to close, and, you know, how much money you want to make. So you could write something out like as your, you know, the main top box is like, hey, I want to close. I'm just gonna do a random example, 10 million in volume with a medium price range of 400,000, closing 15 buyers, 10 sell, whatever it is, right? But you, the more specific you get, then you can track it in that sense, whether it's buyers or sellers, where you at. And but the other important piece to this is do your numbers as far as knowing what, like, how many sales you have to hit based on your price range, based on how many sales. Because once you know that, then it's easy to kind of put it and track it. If you just throw random numbers, for example, 10 million and 2 buyers and 2 sellers, that doesn't match to what you need to do. So you need to be kind of very close as far as tracking all of that.
And we're gonna do a little worksheet at the end of this session to show you guys how you can find those numbers or get those numbers.
Yeah. So once you have that, that will help you kind of really get realistic. And then once you have that goal, is then again you don't want to have 10 under, I call them pillars under the main objective. And, you know, starting with 3 and then hyper focus on those is probably what's going to be, because I know a lot of agents, just knowing, talking to a lot of agents, it's very difficult to try to go in 20 directions unless you're like a superhero and just super organized. But starting with 3, it's like, okay, start with the first one is like, what are you best at? Where has most of your deals came from, where you can keep maximize on it? So it could be social media and your past clients, right? Whatever it is, right? Or it could be open houses if you're just really good at open houses. So that's where you would start. And underneath that is, of course, your activities, I call them. You know, it's not just like, so let's just hypothetically, we're looking at doing past, let's say, open houses, right? So if your first pillar is open houses, what does that look like underneath for you to, well, one, how many open houses are you going to do a week? 2 to 4, are you going to be committed to that? So then you'll have that in there. All right, well, if you're going to be doing 2 to 4 open houses, what are you going to do to find these open houses? Is it your listings? Are you going to be reaching out for listings? Okay, when do you do that? You probably have something in there every Tuesday on my calendar, is finding open houses, calling agents, whatever it is. Once you found an open house, how are you going to market, pre-market it before the open house? So you keep going down as far as your activities on there. When you're going to hold an open house, what are you going to do after open house? So once you have everything written out, then it goes into your calendar. So Tuesday, I would probably reach out to all the agents, ask for, see if I can hold their opens if I don't have my own listings. Once I got opens locked in, I will create social media posts for it, do circle dial and circle clock, maybe door knock let's say if I was doing circle prospecting, maybe it would be on the Friday, right? Before the open house on Saturday. So that's got to go in your calendar. So that way you're then consistent, and then you're not like overwhelmed with what needs to do, because everything's your spots when you're working are all filled in. If your business, if it's your past clients, right, retention, what are you gonna do to get more business? Is it going to be quarterly calls, right? Is it going to be client appreciation events? How many? When are they going to be, right? Is it sending emails, maybe educational emails, or whatever that may look like, right? So then you have to kind of write that all out. How are you going to do that for the past clients? And then like social media, for example, like if it was your pillar for social media, okay, what are you going to do for that? So how often are you going to post every week? Is it all videos, or is it going to be some other just like regular posts, right? So what does that look like? If you break it down, then you can have your calendar. Let's say your goal is, we're not going to shoot high, but let's say 3 posts a week. All right, when are you going to post them? Have it in there Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then you can create categories. Monday will be my educational post. Wednesday will be a story to tell about what I've done, with a client success story. And Friday, it could be 5 best restaurants to visit in whatever your location. It could be local to whatever you are, showing that you're the mayor of the town. Now you have that written out, right? But then additionally, what else can you do on social media? You can say happy birthdays to every morning to everybody in your sphere. Additionally, what else can you do? You can engage in people's comments. So maybe can you have in that 1 hour where you just engage, comment, uplift somebody? What about your listings? When you have a listing, okay, just listed, coming soon, just listed, under contract, sold, testimonial. That's 5 posts of one listing. And then buyers, when you get buyer under contract, can you create a just sold for the buyer? Or can you do a video? I used to do just solds for every video. I would get in front of the house and I would say the story. Just sold 123 Street. Congrats to my clients for beating out other houses in multiple offers. We were able to negotiate, blah, blah, blah. And you sharing the story. And now, like you have so many apps where you can do a green screen, pull up the MLS of the house you got under contract, get behind it. And then, there's just all these ways you can start being active, as far as social media. Another one, like message every 6 months, everybody who in the sphere on social media, and ask for business. Like, so what could that look like for you? And you break that down. But I think getting intentional and then having to be in your calendar is key. If you're going to write this out and not put those things in your calendar, that's where I think a lot of people are not going to get those done. But I would start simple.
Just to recap, Damian, so you're starting with your main goal. You're dividing it up into 3 pillars or 3 main priorities that you're hoping to, prioritize to work you towards that main goal. And then under each pillar, that's where the 5 comes in. You're going to identify at least 5 strategies. So for your example, you're going to, if one of your pillars was, I am going to increase my social media presence by doing whatever X amount of posts per month, then your 5 strategies could be the things you were just talking about, right? Doing just listed, just sold videos, whatever, visiting local businesses, right? So you're going to identify those 5 strategies under the 3 main pillars that will bring you back to your single goal.
Yes. And I think the other thing too is like, when you break it down, and sometimes it could be more than 5. If you really want to, crush it on social media, I would challenge you to go more than 5, because there's so many things you can do. But then again, you can always go back to this and be like, okay, this is what I was talking about. But if you have like 1 hour in your calendar for social media, that could include making a post, that could be including engaging, but that should remind you mentally, like, I got to be doing these activities. All right. Or even like creating posts, right? Creating that you should have another spot where you're creating the content, because sometimes you can batch content. So maybe every 2 weeks you have 2-hour time where you can record your videos, and it's got to be on the calendar, right? So, but for you to record the videos during that 2 hours, you have to prep for it an hour before or 2. So how do you break this down throughout your month, week? You go from a year to months to weeks and then days. And then when you have that in there, you can then kind of hold yourself accountable. Oh, tomorrow I have 2 hours. I was planning to shoot video. Maybe it's 3 to 5 before the day ends. And then maybe it's every 2 weeks or once a month, however you want to do it. You can easily shoot a month of content if you plan for it, write out all the scripts and then shoot it at one time within 2 hours. But if you don't have that in your calendar, you'll just be kind of, oh, I might do it later, or I might figure out you want. But if you have it consistently every month, for example, 2 hours where you're going to shoot your content, and an hour before where you're going to, maybe even 2 hours to put all the scripts together. And once you have that all together, you'll be consistent. Like Monday script prep, Wednesday shoot the content, and from there you have a month of content. And then next month comes up, you kind of look into your calendar again. Oh, okay, I got to work on getting scripts ready, new scripts. But the non-negotiables, like for example with lead, like one thing is I think everybody should have is, lead generation, whether you're going to be doing Sphere or you have online leads, like that first 2 hours, it should be a non-negotiable. If you're making calls and making follow-ups, you're just going to be keeping moving the deals forward. The other stuff I think are just bonuses that I'm talking about, social media, and but the lead generation piece, like that should be every day, 8 to 10, or just because that's kind of, I think, one thing. If I look back at my last 3 years, that hasn't stopped. Doesn't matter how busy I've got, I do that in the morning. I don't set appointments for those times. And having that in the calendar, like, which I think you'll show there.
Yeah.
It's in there.
Yep. So that's probably a really good segue. So the 135 is really kind of building the map, right? Like the things that you want to accomplish and the tasks or the activities that you're going to do. But the next step is then we then have to calendar those tasks, right? And so building that ideal calendar for you is super important, like Damien said, to make sure that you're doing those. So Damien, I'll hand it back over to you.
Yeah, and this is like my old calendar. The thing is, like, after doing this for a while, everything's in my head now. I don't even need to have those spots filled. Like, I know what I'm going to be doing. But I think it does help even having it. Like, one thing you guys can do, and this is again like a bonus tip, if you have any like checklist apps or programs, you can create your weekly. Once you know what you need to do every week, so you can check it off. You're non-negotiable, right? Like, did you lead gen? Did you post a video, 3 videos this week? And you can at the end of the week kind of check it off. But that also could be helping with somebody keeping you, like, if it's hard for you to kind of look into your calendar every day, you can have your checklists created. And it could be like, hey, every week I need to put 3 videos. I need to lead gen 5 times a week, right? For 2 hours. Did you do that? And, I need to send an email, right? Every week to my database. So if you have that checklist, and you can kind of have that, I like it, small hinges swing big doors, the saying. And it's like these little things will add up over time, if you stay consistent with it. But that's where I think a lot of agents drop the ball. They're not consistent.
Mhm.
They're not consistently doing these activities. So, but yeah, like looking at the calendar here, like even in the morning, I know I have to remind myself, like feeding the animals, like reading in the morning, prepping for the day. That's where I look through like emails and making sure, like I'll create my checklist to what I need to take care of that day. Maybe I need to, and sometimes I do it the night before. If I look at my day and my calendar and I'm like, okay, I have appointments, but I need to like get my listing presentation ready. I'll have a little checklist in my notes, and then that way when I wake up, I know like I can knock these things out as the most important ones. And then the lead gen time, it's 8 to 10. That's every day for me. And then I have spot for appointments. That's pretty flexible for me, but I also have appointments where slots where I know I'm with my son at night, and I will not do appointments. So if I know that's in my calendar, like if I have every couple of days, when me and my wife switch, who picks son from daycare, like if I know during that time I have to pick up my son at, let's say tomorrow at 4:35, I will not be booking appointments that night, and it's important to have that blocked out as well, the family time. And then even have like workout lunch. It's important for me to work out every day. I go work out during lunch always. And having that in the calendar, that kind of reminds me. But as you see, I had this was one day I picked where I was video creation. That was my 2 hours planned to batch content. And then just you can, and yours could be completely different. Maybe you like to wake up at 10 and start your day then and work later through the night. That's how you'd set up. I like to wake up early. I get way more done. And then now the way I do things, because I get in the first 4 hours of the day, pretty much I get everything done, my calls, my emails, my everything else. Then I go to like workout, and then it's kind of like relaxing last 3 hours a day. I'm just kind of going through the files, working on the business, whatever it is. But I would encourage you to pack everything early in the morning and get everything done versus kind of spreading things out through the day.
Awesome. And I just want to jump on and just clarify. when Damien has lead generation on here, you see, as he talked about his prepare for the day is beforehand, he's getting everything ready for his lead generation time. He doesn't say, I'm going to block off 8 to 10 to lead generate. And then when 8 o'clock starts, then I'm going to go get my coffee and get my notepad and my pen and pull up my lists of people or whatever, or make his list of what he's going to do. That's what he's doing beforehand. So that when lead generation time starts, he's in it. He's calling, he's doing his posts, he's doing whatever he's doing, the actual lead generation activities. Okay. So, as specific as this calendar may seem, you guys, I would tell you, you want to do that, right? You want to calendar in, even if it's a half an hour time slot, to do some of the things that are important and can't be missed, if they're specific things that you need to accomplish every day. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and
And
a lot of times too, the morning prep, like, and sometimes like again, that's where I might like my clients probably don't like because I'm up at 6 a.m. and I'll start sending emails, responding to it because I go to bed early. I put it do not disturb, and but then in the morning I'm like again, I'm moving things forward. I'm responding to whatever I need to do, sending out the right text, and that's what's nice with the CRM. I will have everything ready, and then sometimes too, like having all the checklists for calls. Maybe not everybody needs to be called. That's where I can send emails early in the morning. Like you can get so much stuff done before like the times of work hours too. And that helps me honestly get ahead of the day, being up early, getting everything. I'm not in a rush. So if I started working at 8 a.m., waking up and trying to get everything done, I would be like, again, it's that, that feeling that where you just feel like rush, everything needs to be done. It's not a good feeling. And the way I get that done, I'm very comfortable when I'm making calls and I have less calls to make because again, I can dissect, see who I can send an email, who I can send, who I need to call. But I think, again, going back to the pillars, I think every agent should have lead generation. And if that's lead generation, like I think you need to get specific. How many contacts do you need to do? Like you need to be having minimum 30 contacts a day if you want to make, a couple 100,000. I'm talking about 30 contacts, not calls. And if you're not doing that, like if you look at your business and you're not doing that and you're talking to 1 to 2 people a day, that's not enough because it's all numbers game. And you got to look at, okay, 30 appointments, 30 calls will lead to maybe, 30 phone calls will lead to 5 conversations. 5 conversations maybe will lead to 1 appointment. So that's why you need to be calling way more. And then the context is where then it breaks down. At 30 contacts, you probably will get maybe 10 appointments, if that, maybe 5, and from 5 will lead to the actual contract, so it's just gotta break it down the numbers wise. And if you're looking back and you're like, why did I not hit my goals? Like, did you actually talk to 30 people every day? Or
Right.
did you post every day?
We always joke about, I hate making phone calls. I hate the lead generation part, but we need to do it, right? But when I first started in sales, I'd be like, well, I made 20 phone calls or, and in my brain, I was thinking that's 20 contacts. That's not 20 contacts, right? I mean, having a conversation or face-to-face is a contact, you guys, not leaving a message on voicemail. So like David said, in the end, when you're not meeting the goals or you're not meeting the activities you need to, you have to just look at yourself and say, am I identifying exactly what that was? Was that a contact? Was that not? Do I need to keep going till I hit those activity requirements that I've set for myself every day? Yep. And there's more than one way to skin the cat, like Damien said too. This is his calendar. It's probably changed a little bit since you threw this up there a year or two ago. But whatever your calendar is, however it works for you. I am not a morning person, so this makes my skin crawl when I look at the fact that you're up at 5 a.m. But I'm just gonna be honest, I'm a night owl, right? So the bottom line is, am I doing things differently? Sure, I am. But the bottom line is I still have to have a calendar that I follow. It doesn't matter what the time slots are. It's just that you're building your calendar around the activities that you need to do to meet your goals. Okay.
I'm just going to say one thing, Kelly, that to piggyback on what Damien said, when you go back to that 135, he made a very important point that take note of what you're good at when you're building out those strategies, because you don't want to just throw things in your calendar to have things in your calendar, right? What are you good at, and how do you build and have discipline to build habits and consistencies around that you can then translate to your calendar? So when Damien creates this calendar and then has appointment times, He's running a business. The business is not running him. And I think what happens is so many agents let all these people run your calendars. So if you take anything out of this from the calendar aspect of it, from your 135, what do you want to enhance in 2025? What are you really good at? So you're naturally going to do it. Where is that going to show up as your non-negotiable for lead generation time every single day? Like Damien said, when he first started with the 135 5 years ago, he 4 times his business, but it was his discipline with his calendar and the consistency in the action of what he was good at that got him there. He was very good at social media and he tripled down on it and he stayed committed to his lead gen. So I'm just kind of going on a soapbox there, but really think on that 135 when you create those pillars or priorities. What are you already good at? Where did your business come from? And now how do you level up on that and take it even to a higher experience level where you get more excited about it because that's naturally and organically who you are.
Yep, good point. Any questions for Damien? I know we stole you for about 15, 20 minutes here, and I appreciate your time. But before we
Yeah, I've been counting overtime minutes, so that's probably like $100 a minute here. So I'll send you them
perfect.
a request.
The check's in the mail. Any questions for Damien before he heads out? Awesome. Well, I will tell
All
you
right.
guys, he is a fantastic agent in the metro area. If you do have further questions or you want maybe some more one-on-one, feel free to reach out to him. He's super accessible and a great agent, a great resource for us. So thanks so much, Damien, for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much. You guys have a good day, and I'm gonna go make more calls.
Good job.
All right, take care. Bye.
So like Damien said, to really do the 135, we have to kind of know, I mean, you have to know what your goals are. And probably one of the main goals that we have as agents is, what do we want to make for the year? What's that GCI goal or what's that transaction goal, right? There may be smaller goals like I'm going to add staff members or whatnot, but we all kind of start with here's the GCI goal or here's where I was this year and here's where I'd like to be next year, right? So as he mentioned, to be able to really do your 135 and know the type of activities that you're putting on that 135, we really do need to know the numbers. So in years past, we've got to start thinking bigger, thinking about what do you want to level up to in 2025, like Angela said. So when you start thinking about your gross commission income goals or your transactional goals, look at what maybe held you back last year that you want to do differently for next year. What are you committed to achieving in 2025? I want you to really think big, you guys. Sometimes what is the saying, Angela? We overestimate what we can do in a year, but we underestimate what we can do in 5 years. So really think big, think outside the box when you're thinking about what you'd like to achieve this next year. Okay. And then obviously you got to put the pencil to the paper to write this down so that it becomes reality, right? Once we start writing it down and we share our goals, there's a level of accountability that happens when you do that. Okay. Anything else you wanted to share on this, Angela? Because I know you've done this same presentation, so I don't want to miss some of the great points you always have.
No, I think you hit them good. I think just thinking big, what happens is when we go small, that's the going small is going to that 135. And then when you're reviewing that, again, whether you get an accountability partner, but if you commit to building this out, it's the going small that everyone seems to miss out on. And that's what Damien said is going small with the non-negotiables. So if you went small on that 135 and you were had a hyper strong non-negotiable, what would it be that would propel your business in 2025 versus 2024?
Yeah, exactly. I think, it's the saying of, how do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time, right? That elephant is that big goal. And sometimes if we say, oh, I want to make $200,000 this year, that just feels so overwhelming and I don't know how to get there, right? So the go small is lining up those activities and those small things that you need to do on a day-to-day basis to help you to achieve it. So what I want to do is I want to take the last, 20 minutes here to just take you through an exercise. We used to go, and I'm happy to share this stuff with you guys. We got to really know our numbers, right? And if you don't know your numbers, there's ways to find out. You guys can go into your MLS, your North Star, you can pull some agent production details. We can help you get some of that information as well if you need to. Your team lead might have it if you're on a team. So, pulling some of those things like your average sale price, and what you did for production will help you kind of set your goals for this next year. And just again, reviewing, what was your goal for this last year and what's your actual, year to date? Like, are you short? Are you ahead? What was the difference? And then also knowing your mix of buyers. This is also really important, your buyers versus your sellers. For Bruce and I think we are about 60% listings and 40% buyers. Maybe you're a buyer agent and you are 100% buyers, right? Just knowing the mix of your business will also help when you break down your numbers. Now, because we didn't ask you to have all of this information ahead of time, you may have to go dig that up and do this exercise on your own later, but I'm going to definitely task you with this between now and next week, okay? So there is an economic model that it goes into great detail. I'm going to kind of take it. It looks like this. It's a spreadsheet. It really goes deep diving into a lot of things, and we're not going to go through this today, but I do have it. I'm happy to share it with you, but we're going to take you through a pretty easy, simple one worksheet exercise to help you go through this. And I'm going to actually shut my share off. And I'm going to have Bruce share his computer because he's got a fillable worksheet. Brucey?
Got it right there.
Perfect. Okay. So let's pick a guinea pig here. Jen, you want to be my guinea pig?
How did I know you were going to pick me? No, that's fine.
You're a good sport. Okay. So I get you might not have your numbers, but we're just going to use you and you can just make something up for the time being as we go through this. So where this worksheet starts is we're going to start at your net income. So I know we've been talking about gross commission income. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what is the income that after all your expenses are done that you want to take home. What's the net income you want to bring home to your family this next year?
300.
Okay, so we're going to walk you through this. So 300,000. So in order for Jen to bring home 300,000 cash in her account, she needs to divide that by 0.5. Okay. So 300,000 divided by 0.5 is 600,000. Okay. So her GCI needs to be 600,000 so that she can bring home 300,000. And the reason we say that is because of these next two items. Your cost to close and your operational expenses are the things that come off that GCI and leave you with your take home, your net income. Okay. And we're going to use 25% for each one of those things. And cost to close is going to be maybe you have a listing specialist on your team or buyer specialist on your team. You're paying, salaries to team people. Maybe you've got marketing for your listings that you're doing. Maybe there's staging costs when you have a listing, things like that. Those are your costs of close or cost of sale is another phrase that you hear. It's the cost to make the income, okay, to make the income. And then the operational expenses, that's just the equipment, the office rent, the supplies, the lead generation, those type of expenses that you have to just do your day-to-day business. Okay. So from a couple of the business books that we've read, we're just going to use 25%. Now, if you are somebody who really operates at a very high level, you'll be able to pull up all your expenses and know what your exact percentage is, and obviously feel free to adjust that accordingly. Okay. So now that we kind of know the breakdown of what our, our GCI is here, we need to go down into the listings versus buyer percentage. So Jen, do you have an idea of how, your percentage of business, what percentage is listed and what's buyers?
So I'm usually about 40% listings and 60% buyers.
Okay. So we'll do 40% listings and 50 or 60% buyers. Okay. So when you put that in there, Bruce has got this figured out that it automatically took that GCI number of 600,000 and it divided it by 40% under the listing column. So her seller gross revenue needs to be 240,000. And if her 60% of buyer activity, that will relate to 60% of her gross commission income. So that would be 360,000. Okay. Does that make sense, you guys? It just took her gross commission income and it divided it into each column. 40% of that is listing income and 40% of that is buyer income. Okay. And now let's start with the listing side. So you've got 240,000, Jen, of your gross revenue income here at $240,000. What is your average listing commission? And again, you might not know it off the top of your head, but just give us a good guess.
The percentage,
Yeah, of what you make on your listing.
I'd say it's probably 3.
Okay, so let's put in 3%. Okay. And then what do you think? And so let's just take it straight down the listing percentage column. Okay. So if Jen makes 3%, that means she had a listing volume of $8 million. And what that means is that $8 million, she made 3% commission, and that's what brought in that $240,000 worth of revenue. Does that make sense so far?
Mhm.
Okay. So again, continuing to work it backwards, what's your average sale price, Jen?
275.
Okay, on your listing. Okay. So basically, if her average sale price is 275 and she had the listing volume of 8 million, that means she sold 29 listings. Okay, it's just going to break it down for you. So she sold 29 listings. Now, Jen, do you know what your conversion rate is when you go to a listing? I mean, or when you take a listing to having it sell? Because not every listing sells. Do you know what your
Right.
conversion rate is?
Well, it's high.
Yep.
It's about 85 to 90%.
So let's use 90, Bruce. Yep. So
I
if
don't
Jen
cancel
takes,
very many.
yeah, so if Jen sells 90% of the listings that she puts on the market, then that means she needs to take 32 listings to convert 90% of them to sales, which would give her that 29. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Okay. So continuing to work backwards, Jen, what is your conversion rate of going on a listing appointment to actually getting the listing?
It's about 80%.
Okay. So we're going to plug in 80%. So going full circle here, what this is telling Jen is that Jen needs to go on 40 listing appointments this year so that she converts 80%, which results in taking 32 of those 40. She actually gets 32 listings. And then out of those 32 listings, 90% of those will actually close, which will give her 29 sold listings this next year. At an average sale price of 275, she should close 8 million in listing sold volume. And if she gets about 3% commission, that'll bring her in $240,000 of gross commission income. Does that make sense, you guys? Awesome. Okay, so let's go down the buyer side. Now, Jen, what's your average commission on your buyer sale?
It's been about 2.7.
Okay. And
That's
then
my goal next year is to get 3.
love that. Love that. Love that. So 2.7 is average commission, which gives her a buyer sale volume of a little over 13 million. And what's your average sale price for your buyer sales?
275.
Okay,
That's my average overall. So
okay,
I
perfect.
don't usually break it down.
Okay. And you guys don't have to, but if you really want to get hyper focused on your numbers and kind of where there might be room for raising that average sale price or, where opportunities are, you certainly can break it down and really, really, dig deep into the numbers. But if you're just ballparking it, this is great. So which would tell us that Jen needs to have 48 sold transactions at an average sale price of 275 to reach her volume goal and then to reach her gross commission revenue. Okay. And then Jen, what's your conversion rate on when you get a buyer under contract to actually finding them a property?
I'd say about 75.
Okay. So 75% conversion rate. And then what's your conversion rate when you have a buyer appointment to getting them under contract?
That's about 80.
Okay. So this is why it's important, you guys, to know your numbers, right? And if you don't, and you're someone maybe just starting out, or you're just not that person who's really into numbers, you can go back on your calendar every month and go, okay, how many appointments did I have and how many contracts did I actually take, right? You can kind of come up with a ballpark. If you don't know there are national averages, you can, use ChatGPT to figure out what, conversion rates you should use if you're just starting out. But if you know your numbers, this is the best way to figure out the activities that you need. So plugging in Jen's numbers, she needs 40 listing appointments this next year and 81 buyer appointments this next year. Okay, so that sounds big, but if you take 81 divided by 12, she needs 12 appointments for buyers every month. Okay.
Mhm.
So that sounds a lot simpler, right? And if you break that down, that's what 3 buyer appointments a week. That does not sound, insurmountable, right? 3 buyer appointments a week. I got this, right? And same with her listings. She has 40 divided by 12. That's 3.3. So let's just round it up just because we want you to do even more, Jen. 4 listing appointments a month. That's 1 listing appointment a week, you guys. And what did we say? 3 buyer appointments or 4 buyer appointments a week. That's not a ton when you think about it, right? So when you can go small, like Angela says, and when you know your numbers, you can get it down to it's not the huge big number goal. It's the what do I have to do on the weekly basis, the small bites to eat the elephant, right? The small bites. Now you can go back to that calendar and calendar in time, knowing that these are the activities I need to do to get that 1 listing appointment and that 3 or 4 buyer appointments every week. Okay. And this also will help you build that 135. So if Jen goes back and builds her 135 saying, I want to make, 600,000 GCI with a net income of 300,000 by securing 1 listing appointment and 3 buyer appointments every week. That's her specific goal. Now she can build those 3 pillar priorities and 5 strategies to reach those simple goals, right? So Jen knows 1 listing and 3 buyer appointments every week. What are your strategies every week, Jen, that you're going to do, right? That's how you can go. Well, obviously, I got to reach out to my sphere of influence. I need to maybe go to a networking event every month. I need to, host my client appreciation events and be purposeful when I'm there asking for business, right? So those are the things that she can start to build, knowing it's simple and small. Okay. Now, the one conversion we don't have on this, and this is a really important number you need to know, is Jen now knows the number of appointments she needs to go on every week or every month to give her the 40 per year and the 81 buyer appointments per year. But what she doesn't know, or what we don't have on here, is the conversion from contacts to appointments. Okay. And those of us who have been doing this a long time might have higher conversion rates, but the average, the national average they tell you to use is 2%, and that's pretty low, right? That sounds horrible, but that's the national average. So when you think about that, if you're only converting at 2%, to get that appointment, that's a lot of people you got to be in front of, right? If hopefully you've got a little bit higher, having been doing this a while, maybe it's 20%. How many contacts do you have to have that week at a 20% conversion to get an appointment? Okay.
Kelly, there is a big difference between making cold calls and those
Yes.
conversion percentages and making calls to your sphere and
Yes.
those conversion percentages.
Yep.
Your sphere is so much higher.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And in Jen's case, if her simple goal was every day, just getting back to Damien's 135, every day I'm going to set an appointment, right? If she did that, and just to hit her 300,000 net income, she needs 4 appointments a week. If she did that and she set 5 appointments a week in 52 weeks, that's another 34 deals just for that one simple goal of setting 1 appointment a day.
Yeah.
Isn't
Yeah.
that crazy?
Yeah. It's again, just breaking it down to the simple. So, again, take your time, you guys, if you don't know your numbers, to find them. It may be a little bit of work. It might take a little bit of ciphering and digging. Reach out to your team lead if you need, reach out to me, reach out to, any one of us. We're happy to help you with resources to find that. But you owe it to yourself. This is one of the key things I think you need to track on an annual basis, is looking at, what's your listing to buyer percentage of business that you do, what's your average sale price, and really kind of knowing your conversion rates, a pretty good ballpark. They don't have to be exact, but knowing those. Because if you don't, you're just shooting in the dark. And now we don't really have accuracy to the numbers, or the small activities that you need to do. Does that make sense? And yes, Charlie, thanks for the comment. Knowing your numbers matters 100%. Otherwise, the math doesn't work, right? Any questions on this, you guys?
So Kel, real quick, I put a link to our Google Sheet actually I put a link to the Empire Files page where you can get the 135. I put that link in the chat, and if anybody wants this sheet, which is super simple to fill out, I can share it to you as a Google Sheet.
Yeah. If you guys are not members of the Facebook page, the Empire Masterminds page, just go on and join, because all the things we talk about, we'll post the media files, we'll do all of that. So you don't have to worry about it. Charlie, hand up.
All I would highly recommend, and it took me a long time to get here. And once again, I'm going to come back to this. So thank you, Kelly and Bruce and Ange and Damien, for putting this on. The one thing I would say is, if you guys don't understand this, please reach out, let your ego go, and reach out and get with the right people to understand it, to guide you the right way. Because the 1 year I did it, I'm not kidding you, the 1 year it actually clicked with me. I hit everything on my vision board, and they were big items. I hit everything on my vision board, and then I went back to being content. So once again, this works, but get with the right people to lead you and guide you. And once again, put that ego away, because this is not an easy journey for any of us.
Right. Good point.
Charlie, that's a great point. You can do this, you can figure it out. It hits home with you. You rock star your year, and then we all forget the consistency, right?
Right. It's the plan, the work, but work the plan, right? You can write it down, but if you aren't going back and doing it and following it, you're not going to get there. So any questions? Anybody else have any questions on this worksheet? Yes, Lisa.
Bruce, can you share that with me? Do you have my email?
You know what? Throw it in the chat and I'll copy it if you will.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. I have to hop off for my team meeting, guys. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
You bet.
Yep. Sounds good.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, we've kind of run to the end here at 10 o'clock. So if you can kind of go through those numbers, that will help. And then next week, we'll kind of look at activities, lead generation, how important that is, tracking the activities that you're doing, and building out like the 411. That's another tool we're going to look at using. So If you guys have any questions, let me know. Send me an email, send me a text, whatever. And appreciate you showing up this morning. And thanks, Ange, for lining up Damien. Appreciate that. Take care, everybody. See you next
Bye.
week.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you, everyone.